Hello, this is our presentation for Should We Only Have No-Kill Shelters Against. This is Group 2 with Morgan Carroll, Grace Alpaz, Edwin Coage, and Eli Varela. This is Animal Science 67, Section 15, Animals in Society, on April 27th, 2026.
From womensanimalcenter.org, maddiesfundy.org, and bestfriends.org, and spca.org, I found that the first animal shelter to ever be opened was the Women's Animal Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This was but the start of what we didn't know was going to be ongoing tradition for America of what we now know as animal shelters. In 1990, Richard Avanzo started a movement for animal shelters. He was the SPCA president in San Francisco at the time, but he wanted to change what had always been. He didn't want any healthy dog, or cat, or animal for that matter to be put down because they were unwanted or abandoned by their previous family. This is all because of the reaction he had with the standard operating procedure that most humane societies at this time had, which equaled death for most of the animals that came into their care. This was mostly a tax-supported animal control services that had to kill stray or abandoned animals because there was nowhere for them to be put. Today in the U.S., 2 out of 3, which is 66.67%, are no-kill shelters, meaning they do not kill because of unwanted or abandoned animals. 33.3% are still kill shelters, meaning when they don't have the space available, they do euthanize animals who would not be normally euthanized otherwise. In 2024, 5.8 million dogs and cats entered shelters, and 4.2 of those were adopted into loving, happy families. The rest, 607,000, were euthanized, just because they were not wanted, there was no space for them to go, and this number right here is the number that Richard Avanzo wanted to change in the early 1990s. And lastly, I would like to add that the history of animal shelters has started from a small town, little house shelter made by a woman in a very small town to a cross-country nationally recognized organization that helps save the lives of the animals of the unwanted, abandoned, and misplaced. It's always evolving and changing to better itself, and this is one of the constantly asked questions if all the shelters should be all no-kill only. There are many ethical aspects that come into play when on the topic of no-kill shelters. One main point is that when animals are being neglected or abused, these shelters give an immediate solution that cuts off all suffering for the animals. This includes all the ones who are ill and would likely not be adopted and would be otherwise in continuous pain. Something you really have to think of is which pain is worse, correct euthanization or suffering, starvation, or pain. Along with this also helps control zoonotic diseases that are easily spread and adds population control. PETA says there are currently 70 million homeless dogs and cats in the U.S., and it is an unreachable goal to house all of them. So, shelters that utilize euthanization to help control this. This also protects citizens by removing aggressive animals off the street and making our streets a safer place for both us and the animals.
Today, no-kill shelters is a widely debated and spoken about topic. According to bestfriends.org, 2 out of 3 shelters in this country are no-kill, and since 2016, 3/4 of all U.S. shelters have been no-kill for at least an entire year. One significant piece of information is the Hayden Act, which was passed in 1998 to increase holding time for stray animals and prioritize adoption and recovery over euthanization. How, you may ask, is this relevant to current day if it was passed in 1998? But the Hayden Act has been updated within current years. For example, in 2025, it was proposed that there be an expansion of veterinary care in shelters, along with requiring pet sellers to disclose the original source of their animals to provide more protection. Currently, based on goodbetter.com, the states that are no-kill include Delaware and New Hampshire, and the state with the highest kill rate is Mississippi, with 18.3% of animals killed in shelters each year as of December 30th, 2025. Along with this, an important piece of information is how quickly our world's population is growing. Currently, there are 8.3 billion people, and that is only growing. This is significant as it is one of the main arguments as to why shelters should be no-kill, as we can only hold so many humans and animals, and no-kill shelters provide more room. Another topic of discussion is the animal adoption rate, which according to ASPCA, roughly 4.2 million dogs and cats were adopted in 2025, and as more animals begin to be adopted, the less shelters we have to provide room, worry about topic of euthanization. In the future, we can expect to see more discussion and legislation regarding the topic. It's expected that more states will join the no-kill movement.
Why should we not have only non-kill animal shelters? I found all of this from marlinchronicle.vw.edu. No-kill shelters often don't solve the issue of how many animals there are without homes. No-kill shelters normally just turn away the animals that can't be taken into their personal shelter. This does not fix any problem that we have. This just makes actually more issues of animals in the streets with unsafe living habitats. Animals are now dying on the street, in cages, or in abusive homes because of it. Is this really any better for the animal to be abused and die on the streets in these 3 cases over being euthanized the correct way by veterinaries and animal control people who know what they're doing? Also, there is truly no such thing as a no-kill shelter. No-kill means that they save 90% or above the amount of animals that come in. Is this truly different from other animal shelters? They just get the title. They are still euthanizing a certain amount of animals. Just means that they save actually 90%. This is just another stat. It's not actually true to the word that it is no-kill. No true shelter really wants to just kill animals. They're doing it because they do not have enough space for animals to come in and live in a healthy and happy habitat. When euthanizing animals, they are making room for new healthy animals to move in. This does equal death for some, but it also equals life for others. If we were to be only no-kill, a lot of these animals that are being euthanized would actually be running the streets, starving, being in abusive homes, and very unsafe and unlivable habitats. So is it really that much better?
Hi, my name is Ellie Villarreal, and I am doing the knowledge and material for our topic, which is should we only have no-kill shelters, and this is for GANTS. Even though no-kill shelters aim to save animals, there are also serious challenges that come with this. One of the biggest issues is overcrowding. When shelters take in more animals than they can adopt out, it leads to limited space, which can negatively affect the animal's well-being. A source I found is from the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and it explains that shelters often deal with high intake rates, and when there aren't enough resources like space, resources, funding, it can become difficult to properly care for every animal. This can result in stress, diseases, infections, and poor living conditions. If you look at this image that I found, you can see 8 dogs trying to fit in one kennel. And this represents overcrowding because shelters may have many animals but not enough room to properly house them. Even if the animals are being kept alive, it doesn't necessarily mean is living in a comfortable or in a healthy environment. Being in a small enclosed space for long periods of time can cause anxiety, stress, and behavior issues for these animals. Another important issue is how long animals stay in shelters. In a no-kill system, animals are not euthanized for space, which means some animals may remain there for months to even years. While this might seem like a good thing at first, it can actually lead to mental and emotional stress for the animals. I also found another image. In this image, you can see a dog with waste on the floor. He or she has BM on the floor, and you could see torn up material. And this could be a sign of stress, boredom, or lack of proper care. It shows how animals in overcrowded or under-resourced shelters might not always be in clean or healthy conditions. Even though the goal is to save them, their quality of life may still be suffering. Another source I found is from a journal that also explains that not all animals are adoptable. Some animals can have serious illnesses or behavior issues, and this can make it difficult for them to be placed in homes. This creates a difficult situation for shelters because they are trying to save every animal, but they may not have the ability to properly support them long term. Overall, this shows that while no-kill shelters have good intentions, they can create many difficult challenges like overcrowding, stress, limited resources, diseases, infections, and so on, which can negatively impact the animals they are trying to protect.
We'll be talking about the summary of our presentation of why we should not have no-kill shelters. To sum up everything, I will explain the history, data, and why we shouldn't only have no-kill shelters. To begin, the Women's Animal Centers was first opened in Philadelphia on April 14th, 1869. These shelters were made to take in strays and abandoned animals, but for a long time, a lot of them had to euthanize animals because there just wasn't enough space or money to take care of all of them. In the early 1990s, Richard Avanzino helped start something called the No-Kill movement. He wanted shelters to stop euthanizing so many animals and instead focus on saving them through adoption. Because of this, a lot of shelters started changing how they work. Today, about 2 out of every 3 shelters in the USA are no-kill shelters. That means they try to save at least 90% of the animals they take in. That sounds really good, but there are also some problems with this. One big problem is that no-kill shelters can get full really fast. When that happens, they sometimes have to turn animals away, so instead of being safe in a shelter, those animals end up back on the streets, and out there they can get sick, starve, or get hit by cars. Some even stay in bad or abusive homes because there's nowhere else for them to go. Another issue is overcrowding. When there are too many animals in one shelter, it can get stressful and unhealthy for the animals in the shelter. Shelters also don't always have enough money or staff to take care of all the animals in the shelter. Also, not every animal can be adopted. Some animals are very sick or have behavior problems that make them unsafe to live in human houses. In those cases, euthanasia might actually be more humane than letting them suffer. Even though it's called no-kill shelters, it doesn't actually mean 0 animals are euthanized. Shelters just need to save about 90% of animals to get the label. So it's not as different as it sounds.
Our sources include Best Friends Animal Society, Humane Society of the United States, American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Dog Population and Dog Sheltering, Women's Animal Center, The History of the No-Kill Movement, Maddie's Fund, Animal Shelter Statistic Dashboard, U.S. Animal Shelter Statistics, Do no-kill shelters really benefit animals? What does it mean to be no-kill? 10 reasons to consider no-kill. No-kill shelter, social sciences and humanities, research starters. And do no-kill shelters really benefit animals? Thank you for watching.